sending notice on Tuesday, January 21st, 2014, to the Home News Tribune, stating that a special meeting of the Mayor and Borough Council will be held on Thursday, January 23rd, 2014, at 7:30 p.m. in the Borough Hall, and by posting said notice on a bulletin board in Borough Hall, and filing the same with the Borough Clerk. I now ask you to rise for an invocation given by Councilman Camerano, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd ask that we have a moment of silent reflection as we contemplate the matters before us tonight. I'd also ask for a moment of reflection in memory of Frances Cost, the mother of our CFO, Rebecca Cuthbert, who passed away recently.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Katie, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilman Wallace.
Here.
Councilwoman Rasmussen.
Here.
Councilwoman Insero.
Here.
Councilman Grazel.
Here.
Councilman Camerano.
Here.
Council President Muldoon.
Here.
Okay, I seek a motion for opening the agenda session.
I move we open the agenda session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, are there any items for the agenda?
I don't have anything.
Hearing none, can I have a motion to close?
I move we close the agenda
Is there
session.
a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We now have a presentation from our Dog Park Committee. First, before you start, I just wanted to thank you. I know the work that you've been doing, and I appreciate all the hours that you've put in and the research, and I'll welcome up whoever your speakers are. Yes, just give your, Stuart, if you just, thank you, name and address.
I'm the co-chair of the committee, and I'd like to give a little history. This started because two Girl Scouts, Abby Brooks and Lily Hoover, and if they could please stand. And this was their idea. This was their idea, their brainchild. They put a lot of work and effort into this, and I believe that they appeared before you on October 21st and presented their idea and a petition that they had with over 500 names. So after that was accepted, the mayor asked the committee be put together, and Ron Grazel was the liaison. And I'd like to start off by introducing the committee. If the committee members can please stand up and introduce yourself.
My name is Maggie Cook. Jackie Morris. Suzanne Legay-Kay. Jean Guarneri. Lily Hoover. Andy Brooks.
Thank you. We met a number of times, and the objective of the committee was to find a location for a dog park that satisfies all the best practices. And if you wonder how we found out what best practices were, because none of us know that, it so happens that we have a thesis done, a master thesis done, from someone from University of Pennsylvania, which is Dog Parks, Benefits, and Liabilities. And this became the Bible for research, for us to know what it was we were looking for. So this wasn't based on things we made up. So we used this as a reference guide. And with that, we went and started searching for a location. And Maggie Cook is going to talk about the location.
Good evening. We discussed...
Maggie, just introduce yourself.
My name is Maggie Cook.
And address.
I live at 38 Whitman Avenue in Metuchen, New Jersey.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We discussed several potential locations. Initially considering Trailhead Park, located on county property, and Oakland Park, located on borough property. While both had merit, the downside of each location led us consider multiple other areas, including Kentner Street Park, the areas near the municipal swimming pool, and two locations in Roosevelt County Park. After several rounds of consideration, and consultation with the mayor and the freeholders, we agreed to seek county approval of an area for the dog park located near the county maintenance facility, close to the parking area located to the right of the park as you enter Oakland Avenue. It is depicted in the attached photographs that we have supplied. It has access to water lines, has parking, and provides ready access to residents, has enough space for generously sized fences, and is not located near any residential areas. While there are bathrooms some distance away, we would recommend building additional bathrooms nearer to this location. We realize that this takes the park out of Metuchen, but given the vast amount of positive criteria this area possessed, we felt that this would be the best location, offering the most features to the residents and their dogs. The facility can still be named Dogs in the Park. Thank you.
And just to take a second to point out what's on the cover of this, we've created a logo. Actually, we haven't created a logo. It was really Amy Brooks who worked with some other people to create this logo. This is just a thought, a recommendation, since this is going to be in Roosevelt Park, obviously in association with Plays with the Park. We wanted it to be in Metuchen, and that was our obvious first stop. As Maggie told you, we had an exhaustive search. You know, we went through, we visited a lot of places, we walked through, you know, we talked to the borough engineer, and there really wasn't a place that met the requirements, best practices. Best practices say that we should have two arenas, one for large dogs, one for small dogs. And the large dogs should be an acre. And we really didn't have a place in Metuchen that had the space along with the utilities. You know, the ability to have a bathroom, you had to have the water, obviously sewer piping, the ability, you know, to have parking, ample parking. And so once we really couldn't find anything in Metuchen, rather than stop the search, we expanded it into Roosevelt Park. And, you know, this is right on the edge of Roosevelt Park, you know, right down the street from the tennis courts, so not that far away from what was our original site. That's where we started with. So we think it meets the needs of the Metuchen residents. The recommendation in front of you, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, what we did, again, using the best practices from this thesis, looking at what's best for the dogs and trying to minimize the cost to the county, the surfaces, you know, we're recommending granite, decomposed granite. This varies from the dog park that is in Highland Park already, which is a county park. They have mulch. And we think this is a better recommendation and will not be very costly. It's maintenance-free, which mulch is not. The waste disposal, which is extremely important. If the waste disposal isn't done, the dog park will fail. And, you know, we have a part in here about it, you know, if the county employees, that the park employees can, as part of their regular route, emptying garbage cans, we have a garbage can supply garbage bags, as they do in the park in Highland Park. It would maintain a clean area. We've also included some recommendations on rules. And like we did looking at the thesis, we went and looked at all the rules, starting with Middlesex County current rules, and then we went to other dog parks in the state. We pulled up the rules for every dog park in the state and made some minor variations, recommendations, and again, if the county says no, the county says no, they can use their current. There's nothing here that's really new and different. And with that, I'd like to open it up to questions.
Council members, anybody here with a question?
And again, I mean, it's really the Girl Scouts that started this, so they really deserve the lion's share of credit for this idea.
Absolutely. If there's a citizenship badge that we could sign off on, I would gladly sign off on it. And I also want to thank Councilman Grazel for stepping up to the plate. He took this on. I know he gave you the whole thesis, because my wife is also on the committee, and so there was a lot of bedtime reading. about the dog parks. I think it's a very, very good venture, and I think we have a good partner with the county. I know we have both talked to Freeholder Tamaro and talked to Ralph Albinair, the person that's in charge of open space in the parks. So I'm hoping that this could get moved expeditiously for us, and we'll keep talking to them so that we could get it done. But I really appreciate all the work that you've done in doing the research and coming up with the rules and the background, and let's see if we can move it forward now.
It was our pleasure. It's a passion for all of us dog owners. And if there's anything else we can do, you know, to help the council in getting this done, we're still here, ready and eager to work.
Mayor, I have a
again-
question.
Okay.
Are you presenting this at a freeholder meeting with the Girl Scouts?
I'll speak for them. They're available if asked.
Is
We
that-
haven't been asked,
We were
but
going to
we'd be
give
more than happy
the
to.
report first to council, to Freeholder tomorrow. And then if we could get on any docket for the freeholders, we'll talk to the committee and see who's available to go and speak.
I think it would be a great experience for the Girl Scouts to go down to a freeholder board meeting and present this report, because I was really impressed with the quality of the report and what I read in it. And I would encourage you to go speak to them yourselves, rather than hear it from us.
They're both shaking their heads, yes.
Okay.
Your Honor, if I may.
Councilman Camerano pointed out, it'd be pretty tough for the freeholders to say no to Lily and Abby.
So go down there.
It would be tough. I would like to thank the committee, and you know, it's interesting when you walk around town and you hear feedback from people, and you guys have done such a good job that I can honestly tell you, the number one question I get these days is, when are we getting a dog park? Probably more than any other issue in town, even traffic.
I think a lot of that was the booth they had at the
Right.
county fair.
That was-
It's amazing.
Which is how I heard about it. That's how I
really?
got involved in
Yeah,
this.
I said to Amy and the girls, like, that was the busiest,
Yes.
most crowded booth at the fair that I saw. So it was, you did a fantastic job, and I think you're right. It created the awareness, got people engaged on it. So thank you all. On the Facebook, that's true. Yeah, because this idea has been around for a while. I remember when
Yep.
the mayor said, "Oh yeah, there were several attempts," and it wasn't. I don't think until Abby and Lily came forward, and they really pushed it over the goal line. So, thank you.
Any
Your
other?
Honor, I would like to echo Councilwoman Acero's thing. That was a really detailed report. I read it cover to cover, and they dotted every I and crossed every T. It's a fantastic report. They
Yes,
didn't do that in
yes.
5 minutes.
Yes.
So we will talk to Freeholder tomorrow and see when, and we'll get you some dates, hopefully, that we could set up a time when we could go down and
Well, thank you. We
And- and
appreciate your
talk
time.
to the freeholder board.
And again, Ron, we appreciate your help. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
I really enjoyed the committee. It was a lot of fun, our meetings.
And we're still here if you need us.
Thank you.
And I just had one question. I was just like reading over the rules, and I'm just, maybe would like to understand the logic behind the age of 8 not allowing them in the park. Not that I'm for it or against it, but just like, what did you read, what?
The age of 8 not being allowed was a common rule to all others, as an existing rule for Middlesex County. I think I'm guessing, we discussed it, has to do with liability issues. I don't know that, but my guess is because it was too consistent for it to be a coincidence. So I'm guessing it was liability issues. Because little kid, particularly in the big dog side, and
Right.
dogs react to body language, and if someone gets scared, and you can set a dog off totally inadvertently. So that's totally guessing. I don't know that.
Right.
for a
I mean, I
fact.
thought maybe in the report, in the thesis, there was some kind of study done, you know.
They didn't mention age 8. It did mention not letting little kids in at all,
Right.
just because of the potential for dogs react to body language. And something done innocently, a little kid going to grab a dog's tail,
Right.
not knowing any better, could create a bad scene. So, it's a fair question. I wish I had a better answer.
All right, no, that's good, thank you.
thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, Council President?
I move that we approve the council meeting minutes of February 19th, March 4th, March 18th, April 1st, April 15th, May 6th, May 20th, and June 17th, 2013.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I'm now going to open it to the public. For any questions or comments, please step forth, state your name and address.
Good evening, Dan Spiegel, 1 Mark Circle. There's an item on tonight's agenda, which is a resolution number 2014-39. There is an amendment, apparently, to the resolution for some type of conflict. Could you explain what the conflict is?
Yes, our present attorney, his firm also represents the school board, all right? If we were going to review anything with the school board election, we must have a conflict attorney who could handle that information. And this is a conflict attorney for the year, if there's any other conflicts that come up. So we're looking to get advice from Mr. Samuels and his firm for any conflicts that would occur.
Is the firm being retained to draft a resolution that would be introduced at a future council meeting?
I believe that he will draft a resolution, or at least give us advice first as to what our options are.
If I were to review any of the meeting minutes from December of 2010 to today, would I find any discussion in the public record amongst the mayor and council that discusses changing the date of the election for the Board of Ed election?
I don't think so.
I could be wrong, but I don't think we've discussed it.
Okay. Is there going to be a public discussion before a resolution is drafted, or is a resolution going to be drafted and a discussion held that evening?
I think that you have a resolution to discuss before you could discuss something, or a recommendation of a resolution.
Okay. I guess I'm just trying to understand from a process, and most of you, of course, know me, and I was on the
Dan,
council.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Yeah.
I don't know if
guess,
everybody else is.
The microphone's not built for 6.3. Is that better?
I don't think it's on.
Must not be turned on.
Is that better?
Is there a switch?
I think we can hear him, but I don't think the people are on.
I'm going to move up and use one of the other mics.
You want to come up here and try one of these? I was having a lot of difficulty hearing you.
So I know most of you know me, and again, I may take a couple minutes because the topic of the school board election is a very, very important issue to me. I have spoken publicly and at some length now. Last year, there was a meeting to discuss school board elections at the Board of Ed. I think I probably spoke for about 10 minutes on that night, and then there was another meeting just a couple weeks ago. I spoke for a little less time. And when I served on the council from '86 to '88, there was a technique, at least at the time, where everything that was on the agenda was something that had been discussed in public prior to, and you didn't just show up at a meeting and there was something, and then you had to be paying attention to the public postings. There was always an orderly, advanced discussion, and I guess I'm looking to understand that an elected body had a 5-3 vote to sustain their election in April. You're telling me there's nothing in the public minutes about a discussion about moving the school board election. There's a resolution on the agenda tonight. There's no foundation for discussion. I don't understand how the Open Public Meetings Act works, but I'm trying to figure out how we leap from you guys know what the conflict attorney's hiring is about, but there isn't any foundation in the public record for its hiring.
Your Honor, if I may, Dan, I think you misunderstood. A conflicts attorney would advise and engage us on that issue, but the conflict attorney is being hired for the year whenever we have conflicts. If I'm not mistaken, in the past, we've done that at the reorg meeting. I could be wrong about that. Every year, we hire a conflicts attorney because there is always a potential for the lawyer to have a conflict. If you don't have a conflicts attorney at any given moment, you're in a difficult situation. So I don't want you to look at the conflicts attorney and say, geez, there's something funny going on here. It's something we do. Now, if indeed this body decides to go forward, yeah, the conflicts attorney would then engage in that issue. But it's bigger than that, than a single issue. It's for the entire year of conflict.
So then, if I could just for another 2 minutes, since I am going to speculate that there may be some momentum forthcoming on the topic, I want to just give you a summary of what I've said at the school board meetings. I'm George Bailey. I live in Bedford Falls. I pay close attention to civic matters. You know I've served. At the conclusion of my service in elected position, Mayor Wiley appointed me to the zoning board. This will be my 25th year on the zoning board. I'm a careful and thoughtful person. There was a period of time where there was a change in leadership where a then Republican mayor was elected to the town council. I was a member of the Republican Party. I had been nominated to the zoning board by a Democrat. I served on the zoning board. There were outstanding individuals and professionals on the zoning board. And at the time that the Republican mayor attempted to withhold the renomination of Ellen Clarkson, I essentially told the mayor and the political party that I would immediately resign my position on the zoning board if Ellen Clarkson was not reappointed to the zoning board. In addition, in the majority, I voted against then Republican appointees on the zoning board to defeat a resolution that would have changed the planning, the planner for the board. We retained at the time Jim Constantine as our attorney. So the reason I'm telling you the story is that I am a very civic-minded person. When people do an outstanding job, I take note of it. I pay very close attention to everything going on civically. I've always committed myself that unless and until I was willing to do something about something I didn't like, I wouldn't step forward and get involved. You've seen me in the council chambers. I was gladly volunteered to the stipend review committee, and of course you received our recommendations. That was another topic I felt very strongly about. There are no other topics that I've come into the council chambers and spoken on the record about. I have been in council chambers for meetings when my daughter's athletic teams were recognized for their performance. It is my general sworn duty not to do anything political because I value what I do on the zoning board, and I really do believe, as George Bailey, that I'm trying to protect Bedford Falls from becoming Pottersville. What I said to the Board of Education before their vote the other night was I view the election of the school board and I view the process of voting on a budget to be sacred. I believe in initiative and referendum. I believe that the electorate is getting further and further away from determining self-rule, and the school board and its election is one place where the community can focus and it can examine the budget at the line item level. And even though I'm a strong supporter of public education, I cherish the opportunity for anyone to exercise their vote and, if they feel necessary, defeat the school budget. Luckily, I've supported school budgets, and Metuchen has had an outstanding record in passing them. My fear is that moving the election to November has large implications in terms of the willingness of the electorate to follow the specific election. There will, I'm sure, be a date where you all discuss, and you may tonight, talk about voter participation, disenfranchisement, and enfranchisement. There was discussion at the school board about disenfranchisement, speaking about the number of voters who participate in a school board election. I thought that was a poor analysis because everyone who is a registered voter is enfranchised to vote. The fact that they choose not to attend an election is their choice. To move the election to November, as I understand the law, the school budget then becomes an automatic. It is out of sequence with the budget cycle, but it is a disenfranchisement of people's right to vote. When people don't vote in school board elections, it's because they make a choice not to, like some people make a choice not to vote in primary elections, like others make a choice not to vote in general elections. So that was a leading argument for why the move should be undertaken. I just cannot tell you how important this issue is, both to me and to many people that I speak to. And since we've already got one elected body who has already discussed the matter, in the public session last year there were 11 speakers, 10 of which spoke in favor of retaining the April vote, 1 against. This year there were 4 speakers. 1 speaker spoke about one individual who could not attend the meeting. All 4 speakers spoke in favor of retaining the April election. I'm fairly well connected in town. I'm very visible. This is a very important issue, and I speak to just about everyone. I give what I believe to be a balance of the issue as I understand it. One side of the issue is perhaps there's a fear of the public funding formula from Trenton. Given what the governor's been up to lately, the harassment from Trenton should now be not much of an issue. And then there is also the potential safety issues for holding an extra, what amounts to about 3/5 of a day, people coming into the school. Those are all of the things in favor of changing the school board election. There is the cost of running the election. There is the alleged disenfranchisement of voters because they don't vote for the candidates. The disenfranchisement is moving the election, not leaving it, because that takes away the vote. And when I present that to people, almost universally, the support I hear is for leaving the election in April. And so before we move forward and spend money on conflict counsel and all of these ancillary meetings, I would strongly encourage you to follow the lead of the Board of Education, the elected officials who voted on a 5-3 majority to sustain an April school board election. My fear is, should you overcome it, that it would be unusual for the governing body of the municipality to overrule the school board, and that my view is that that could only be viewed from the public's point of view as being political. And I've stated to you, I'm very interested in civics. I'm very interested in civics. I see this as a very important issue and an important defense of initiative and referendum and the individual's right to have some say in government. And so I hope you carefully consider as you move forward, and if you do move forward, have advanced warning for the public hearings, and ultimately allow and invite the public to comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Anyone else like to speak or have a comment?
Rose DeFries. I am a member of the Metuchen
Just
Board.
give us your address, please.
Rose DeFries, 312 Middlesex Avenue. I have to say, though, that I am a member of the Board of Education, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the board. I'm speaking as a citizen of Metuchen. I would like to say, I am not going to reiterate what Mr. Spiegel had to say, but I agree with everything he has said. And I do want to say that the Board of Education on January 14th did vote 5-3 in favor of keeping the election in April. And I, for one, do not want my budget vote taken away. And I, as a representative of the people of Metuchen, am here to speak on how I think that they would feel and not wanting to have their vote taken away. I think that that's our only time to have a say in how the schools are run. It's our only time to agree or disagree with how monies are set forth and spent. And I think that it's really important to let the people keep their say in that matter. I really think that everyone is given the same opportunity to vote in April as they are in May, and in November, excuse me. I mean, there's election signs, candidate signs around, there's reminder to vote signs around. We received the ballot in the mail in April, just as we received the ballot in the mail in November. So I don't really think that that's an issue. I think that everyone has knows when the election is and has the same opportunity and is choosing not to, maybe because they're happy with the way the schools are being run. Who knows? But I think that everyone has the same opportunity. I think as far as expense goes, it's an expense for the entire town to have participation, which really comes down to less than $1 a person to keep this privilege. I also think that I, for one, voted not to take the citizens' right away to vote on the budget, and so I hope that you will take that into careful consideration and not, for whatever reason, feel that the need to move this, because you know, it is a very important issue, and it is our only time to have a say in the way our schools are run. One last thing, I really like the dog park idea, and I'm very happy we're doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else like to have a comment or question? After they're done, I'll leave the council to have their...
Hi, Jackie Gibson, 72 Lake Avenue. I also am a member of the Metuchen Board of Education, but am not here this evening to speak on behalf of the board. I am here speaking just on behalf of myself as a citizen. One thing I would like to make sure is mentioned is that when the public has no right to vote on the school board election in November, it is unless it is said unless it goes above the 2% cap. But the 2% cap, I want everyone to be aware, is not a hard cap. There are many exceptions. So 2% is not really 2%. The budget, under many circumstances, could be, the tax levy could be increased by twice that amount, and the public would still have no vote as long as they were within the permissible exceptions. So that basically is what I wanted to say this evening, and thank you for your consideration, and I also like the dog park idea.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public section. I'm going to open it to council if they have any comments.
Your Honor, I'd just like to clarify a few points. Number one, people would still, in November, if we were to do it, have the right to vote for school board members. What they wouldn't do, unless it exceeded the 2% cap, is vote on the budget. Very much like they elect us to do on the council. But, you know, as I sit here listening, I can't help scratching my head. When you look at the disparity between how many people vote in a school board election and how many people vote in a general election, it is astounding. It is absolutely incredible. And it's not just Metuchen, it is statewide. Where you have school board elections in April, we can argue turnout, but, you know, 11% is a number we use based on the voters and all that. We can argue a couple percentage points here or there. When you look at the special election for the Senate this year, which was in an off year, but it was well publicized and people were more attuned in the governor's race, turnout's over 40% of voters that come out, or around 40%. Metuchen tends to be a little bit higher than the statewide average. You know, this is not something that's not happening everywhere. I think all but 2 towns in the county have already done this. You know, it's statewide. The numbers are overwhelming, towns that have done this. So this is not something new. The one point I would like to make about school board elections, the polls don't open until I think 2 o'clock, if my memory is correct, which does disenfranchise people. Because if you got to go to work early and you haven't thought about getting a vote by mail ballot or anything else, you don't have an opportunity to vote before you go in, or before maybe even you just get engaged in your kids' activities at night. The hours are curtailed significantly. I just don't think we can ignore the fact that the turnout, and it's not just Metuchen, it's everywhere, and this is why you have the statute that is allowing this, is to try to increase participation. The other point I'd like to make is the school board, very much like we have here, has a difficult time finding people to run. I mean, you may not believe it, but we struggle in campaigns to try to get people to run, and I know the school board does as well. I'm hoping that November, and I'm not sure if the numbers show it or not, it's probably too early, will help increase participation, both as people who would like to serve, but also people who would like to have a say in who it is that serves. So, I mean, I just want to put that out there that, you know, you can argue all the disenfranchisement, but the numbers are the numbers, and the sheer fact that almost 4 times as many people vote, not quite, but almost, in a general election and a school board election is very telling.
Any other? Councilman Grazel?
I watched the school board debate, not live, but I watched it at home. And it really was a very interesting, well-run, animated discussion. And I think that I'll leave the actual representations to our mayor and our borough council president, but I'm quite certain that the consensus here is that we would not move forward without notice and an opportunity to debate. I appreciate what the comments that were made tonight. I don't recall the enfranchise argument being made at the school board meeting. It's an interesting argument. I hadn't thought about it that way. But I think how the issue is framed is critical to how it moves forward. And I remember a speaker coming to the microphone, I don't remember who it was, and he complimented the board on the discussion and the debate. It really was a model of civics. There were really well-stated opinions on both sides, but and I'm not doing this justice, but the gist of the presentation went something like this. And of course, I'm part of this history myself, so I have a high regard for it. And the speaker said, you know, I'd really like to compliment the board and the president of the board on the quality of the debate. And he said, I think it demonstrates what a really outstanding Board of Education we have. And I shared that observation, and I've shared that because I attend the Board of Education debates every spring when they have them, and I'm impressed by that as well. But the speaker went on to say that it seems to me that if April elections, regardless of the turnout, are capable of producing such outstanding members, that there's little to be gained by moving it to November. In fact, there's everything to be lost. A number of people have discussed this issue with me privately, and I'm not going to indicate who they are, but that's been the central, most vocal argument that I believe has been presented to me, which quite frankly was made that night, which I think the people in the audience should be cognizant of. It's not really effective to argue to a governing body that the best foot forward is to keep an election with decreasingly turnouts because there's a chance that more democracy may turn the tide and produce individuals who may not be as outstanding. I don't think that's consistent with Metuchen history. I remember going back 15, 20 years ago when school budgets couldn't pass, when you had radically anti-education people who were winning seats and, in fact, taking control of the school board. And the way that turned is that dedicated, educational, committed people, some of whom were in the audience, went out and made the case. And those elections, I remember, were high turnouts in April. So I think that the way in which the argument was framed tonight was interesting. It's provocative. I mean, there were a number of things to consider. I mean, one of the issues that concerned me that was raised is that regardless of the fact that Board of Education elections are nonpartisan, you take a risk when you move a nonpartisan election to a partisan election day. I thought that was an interesting issue, and it's certainly one that's thought-provoking. And I think the way it's presented tonight is. But the issue is complex. I think it's especially, I think what Peter expresses is something that all of us have a great deal of concern about, in that if the opportunity, the public opportunity to express a position on an issue is more pronounced by holding the vote at a different time, what are your choices as a governing body? And I think it's extremely difficult for a governing body to decide, regardless of how you feel enfranchisement works, to decide to have an election where the turnout is significantly diminished. And I think that's really at least what the focal point of the debate is going to have to be when we have it. I appreciate the comments that were made tonight. I think they're certainly thought-provoking, and I think we would have a lot to think about. And it's a very complicated issue. We have a high regard for this school board. I think the last thing this governing body wants to do is to get involved in an issue that the school board has already decided, but that's the way it was set up. I mean, the legislature made very, very specific decisions, and ironically, from Metuchen's perspective, the impetus for this really came from the school board community, because the complaints for years and years and years by the organized school board community, including the School Boards Association, was that it's unfair to have the school board's budget voted on when everybody else's budget isn't. And that's really what I think was the original impetus of the legislation, however it manifested itself. So I think everybody up here is cognizant of how important the issue is, how difficult it is. You could see that in how the school board debate went. And I certainly appreciate what I heard, and I just wanted to indicate, at least from my own perspective, and I know I speak from everyone's own opinion, that it's a very serious issue, and if and when it comes up, we will certainly have a full-blown discussion on it.
Thank you. Anyone else from the council? Okay, Council President, close the public section. It's up to you now.
I move that we close the public section.
No, I did that.
You did, okay, cool.
Okay.
All right, I move the communication consent agenda items 5 through 11 be accepted.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. We're at that point where we have reports of the council people. Council President?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few things tonight. I'm happy to report that the American Legion, the Parking Authority, and the developer, Woodmont Properties, have reached an agreement. The American Legion will be moving to a new location at the Halsey Street location at the corner of Warnick Place, which is going to be provided to them by the Parking Authority at no cost. The American Legion will be provided a brand-new building with state-of-the-art facilities and fixtures to be built and paid for by the developer. And the current American Legion property on Lake Avenue will now be incorporated into the overall Pearl Street development. So with these negotiations completed, Woodmont and Nexus will now proceed with site development for the project. So that is a big accomplishment. Many people have been asking me over the past few months, like, what's happened at Pearl Street? The negotiations with the American Legion were quite complex and took, I guess, longer than expected, but that's been resolved. So, as I said, the developer can now proceed with site development for the project. The next thing from the police department, the first pedestrian safety talk by Sergeant Arthur Flaherty will take place on Friday, January 31st at the Senior Center at 11 a.m. All members of the community are invited to attend. This is the first of a series of pedestrian safety talks that Sergeant Flaherty will be conducting. We will announce additional dates when those dates are set, but the first one is Friday, January 31st at 11 a.m. at the Senior Center. The Metuchen Police Department will be conducting a 13-week Citizens Police Academy program for borough residents interested in learning about law enforcement. It begins on March 3rd at 6:30 p.m. here at Borough Hall. To learn more about the Citizens Police Academy program or to register, you could contact Sergeant David Lee Antonio at the Metuchen Police Department at 732-632-8550. And my final update is Local History Day will take place on Saturday, February 8th from 2 to 4:30 at the Metuchen Public Library. Local History Day is free, open to the public, and is sponsored by the Metuchen Edison Historical Society. It's a great way for residents to learn more about their town through documents and images of Metuchen. Thousands of photos will be available for view, and if you happen to live in a house in Metuchen that dates from 1930s or earlier, you will likely be able to find a historic photo of your house from the Grimstead collection, and you can, if you find that, you can order a reprint of the photo. My wife and I did this many years ago. We found we went to History Day and found a picture of our house and ordered it and had it framed. So it's kind of cool to see what your house looked like in 1929 or whatever it was built. So encourage everyone to attend Local History Day, a Saturday, February 8th at the Metuchen Library. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Wallace?
Thank you, Your Honor. The Recreation Commission is going to have the daddy-daughter dance in the 15th of, I believe it's the 15th of, going back and forth between a couple of dates, but that looks like the one it'll be at the Pines. So when the publicity comes out on it, please get on it right away, because last year they had to turn a couple people away. It's become very popular. Traffic and transportation, a lot of things were discussed. The minutes were on tonight's agenda for being accepted. They were posted on the website. You can read them word for word if you want. I believe that the chairman was in touch with Council President Muldoon and the mayor about a couple little things, and we'll just go with the way things are going and keep plugging along. That's all, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rasmussen?
Okay, the Development Commission did not meet this month due to snow earlier in the month, and the Shade Tree Commission will be meeting next week. I was not able to attend the Chamber of Commerce meeting because I had a previous commitment before I knew that I would be liaison. However, though, the Junebug Committee has already begun planning this year's event, and there will be more to come. The Environmental Commission is going to be revisiting open space and parks in Metuchen to assess maintenance and things that may need to be done. We'll probably schedule this for March or April. And we're also looking to apply for a small grant of approximately $1,500 for a community project that would enhance one of the open space park areas. We also discussed the purchase of mapping software if we get the Edison Wetlands grant for meets and bounds of the Dismal Swamp. It can be used to bring different layers of data together of parcels within the borough. For example, for flood zones, drainage. It could even has the potential to track things like where snow plowing is occurring and where it may need to be done. And it also can map permits that people have for their homes for different projects. And I was also wondering, would it be possible to publish on the borough website on a monthly basis the tonnage fees that we spend to take our garbage to the landfill, and also recycling reimbursement, so that residents can see the cost of dumping in the landfill as opposed to generating income for the borough by recycling. We would like to encourage more recycling and to empower our residents to control some of the costs in the borough by being a partner in recycling. So I don't know if that's possible.
I think we have to have Bill talk to Fred and see if it's even possible, because I know our numbers are delayed.
Okay.
Okay? It's not like we have this month's numbers or December's numbers.
Right.
Okay?
Because, I just thought maybe people could kind of track and keep an eye on it, and maybe they might realize, oh, gee, maybe if I recycle more and seeing the numbers shifting from getting more reimbursement from recycling and spending less money on tonnage, people would feel like maybe they have a vested interest in it.
Okay, so
And,
Bill will look into that.
Okay, all right, that's good. And also, I just want to remind people again to support your businesses in town, because a healthy Metuchen depends on us all spending our money here as much as we can. And I also want to mention quickly that February 16th, it's a Sunday, is the Chili Challenge at the Borough Improvement League building, and it's a scholarship benefit for Metuchen High School, and there will only be 100 tickets at $10 apiece. So there'll be more coming as I get more information, and that's my report.
Thank you.
Your Honor, before we go to the next councilman, could I just something I did forget to compliment the DPW with this storm the way it was. They did a fantastic job. They were out at the right time to make an early pass, and then they followed up after dark, and I don't think we had a problem with the street in town anywhere.
Thank you. Okay, Councilwoman Insero?
Thank you, Mayor. The Board of Health is expected to meet later in February. I don't have a date yet, but probably the third Wednesday or so, or possibly the fourth Wednesday, depending on the doctor's schedules. The Youth Services Board met January 9th for their reorganization meeting and discussed future funding needs, and also Middlesex County's new focus on preventing heroin abuse, which is a growing problem throughout New Jersey. The Senior Citizen Commission will meet January 31st, Friday at noon, following the 11 a.m. pedestrian safety workshop. I don't know if this was already mentioned when I had to step away from the dais for a few minutes, but I'd like to encourage all seniors, even if they don't currently attend any senior programs at the building, to go to that pedestrian safety workshop, which is being done by our Metuchen Police Department. Also, the seniors would like to thank the DPW for fixing the leak that occurred. I don't know if you mentioned this, Mayor, from the burst pipe that happened, not this snowstorm, but the snowstorm earlier in the month. There was some damage to the building, but some DPW guys worked through the weekend to repair the ceiling tiles and any of the damage that went on in the building that weekend. I think it happened on a Thursday.
No, it happened on a Friday evening.
On a Friday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they want to thank DPW for that, and that's my report.
Okay, just as a note, that safety workshop is based at seniors, but anyone is invited.
That's right.
So anyone in the public can come. It is at 11 o'clock on Friday the 31st at the Senior Citizen Center. Okay? Councilman Grazel?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like the community to be aware of a wonderful exhibition that's going to open this weekend at St. Luke's Parish to kick off the church's 150th anniversary year. They're going to run an art show featuring the works of 15 different artists centered around the immigration issue. And the works of art by the different artists will look at the history of immigration, the value of immigration, and the context of the issue today. Many of the artists will be there to lecture and present their works in person. It's going to run this Saturday between 2 to 5 p.m. The show itself will run between January 25th, 2014 to May 31st, 2014. This is a public gallery. Everyone is welcome to attend, and the Nails in the Wool Gallery invites the public to participate. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilman Camerino?
Thank you, Your Honor. The Library Board met earlier this month, adopted several policies pertaining to library building usage, hours of operation, and some other issues. There is a group from the Teen Advisory Board attending a program this weekend in Philadelphia. I think it's this weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. They are participating in a review of books. It's actually a pretty neat trip, and kudos to Kathy List, the teen librarian, for applying for admission to it and also for arranging the trip. So I think it's an exciting trip. There's about a half a dozen of them going down to Philadelphia for today, and they're going to be participating in a much larger panel reviewing books and actually giving feedback on them. It's a program that was started a few years back and has really, it's paid off quite a bit. They have very good participation, good number of people, and they're a very enthusiastic group of kids, so we want to continue to encourage that. The pool commission met last week, discussed a lot of routine business, also talked about some improvements this year, some maintenance issues they're trying to get done over the winter, and also the implementation of a new membership tracking system, including membership cards, that'll give them a better handle on usage at the pool during certain, what hours, what days, when the volumes are high, low, as well as helping us track some of the financial records electronically when you bring guests in, when you buy a bathing cap, when you buy goggles. Right now, it's a manual process, and the auditors have expressed an interest in improving that system. So I think if we move forward, that system should alleviate some of those concerns. EMS meets later in the week. The one thing I would like to ask is, we do have an application. I think everybody received an application from Todd Shaper to be considered for the pool commission. I don't know if we can do that tonight. It would certainly.
I have no problem doing it.
We do have a vacancy, and he has expressed an interest. He's been pretty active, and I think would be a tremendous asset to the board. So if everybody's okay with that, the
You
commission.
should make a motion right now, do it.
Okay. I move that Todd Shaper be appointed to the Metuchen Pool Commission.
You want to second it?
Yeah, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
I have no further report.
thank you. Dennis, you have any report?
I have no report.
Bill? I have a couple of items. First, our fire department reacted to a fire after one of our last meetings on December 17th, early in the morning. It was a great save. The notification of the fire, please, if you have any issue of an emergency, please call Borough Hall. If your phone isn't working, knock on a neighbor's door. What happened was the person where the fire was drove in her car down to Borough Hall, came to the police department. By time our police and fire could react and get there, the condo was totally enveloped in flames. 2 units were lost on Amboy Avenue, but it was a very good save because it was a very icy, cold day. We had, I don't know how many, I think 8 different companies out from different towns. I got the call at, I think, 2:30. I was there within a few minutes, and I know Council President and I didn't leave till at least 6 o'clock in the morning. It took a long time to get it under control because the first floor collapsed, and they couldn't get into the building, so it made it a really tough fire to fight, but they did a super job in saving the other 4 units that were connected to that. I'll give you a full report later in the month or in the next month when I receive that from the chief. Our DPW already, it's been discussed, the excellent job they did with the last 2 snows. If you had a garbage pickup this week on Wednesday, there was no garbage pickup, and you were instructed to put it out for Thursday or Friday. If they did not get to you yet today, they will get to you tomorrow because of the overload with the snow plowing. But they did an excellent job. First thing I did on Wednesday morning was go around town looking at the job that they did, and it was super, and I've already relayed that to them. I'd like to announce today that we are I guess still in the process of refinancing the bonds on this building. We have an estimate that we had an offering today that will save the taxpayers $614,000 by refinancing, and so we're committed to do that. We're advised by our CFO, advised by our bond counsel and our auditor that we should take the offer. And I wanted to thank Bill and Becky and the Finance Committee because they put work to get this done, and it looks like it's going to be roughly a tax point a year for the next 6 or 7 years that we save. June 30th in this chamber, we're having a meeting, as I spoke on the opening day for this body, with the planning board, the chair people of planning, zoning, development, and parking. Sorry, June 30th, January 30th. January 30th. I'm getting ahead of myself, looking for the warmer weather, you know. So, but we want to make sure that people know we're going to be talking about parking requirements, building use issues, and building height issues. And please come out to the pedestrian safety on January 31st at the Senior Center. I think you'll find that some of the information, I know that the council president and I have had, I guess, 4 or 5 meetings already with the police and Bill about trying to develop plans. We've met with Keep Middlesex Moving, and so we're looking at ways to try to make our streets safer for pedestrians and bicyclists and even people in automobiles. And that concludes my report. Council President, it's up to you now.
I'll just add one little thing if you want on the fire that you mentioned. And like I said, I know Council President was there with you.
Go ahead.
One of the mutual aid fire company's chief was there with his company, and he put on Facebook what a job we did there. Because most time when you see condo fires like that, it usually takes a building or two, and we kept it to 2 units. And even the man living at the end unit, I think he spoke to you, Mayor.
Yes, he was one of
He
my
said,
former golfers.
Am I going to be able to get back to my house that night? And he slept in his house that night.
Yes, he did.
Actually, we didn't leave there till 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And with all that delay, I mean, it was really what we call ripping when we got there. We had a million things to try to do right away, and the mutual aid companies were really fantastic. It's part of mutual aid that when you come into the town to do things, but the South Plainfield Fire Company, they laid 700 foot of hose down to the main and Amboy hydrant to feed our ladder truck. And they had a lot of work at the end.
Well, I could tell you how bad it was when icicles are forming on the ladders that our guys are climbing. You know how bad it is. And we had a DPW person there just putting calcium chloride down on the walkways because we were afraid somebody was going to slip. It was just a sheet of ice. So you had fire personnel moving around on this icy surface. You had sprays of water and everything icing up. It was a really tough fire. I neglected to mention one thing, and that's mud making magic. You'll see flyers around at the Senior Center, at the library. Please sign up. It's a worthwhile program. I've already signed up with my granddaughter and my daughter to make some tiles for decorating the shed over by the tennis courts. So your opportunities to sign up, it's a reasonable rate. Please sign up. I think it's going to be a great community art project. And I just wanted to put another plug in for it. Okay, Council President.
Thank you. I move that new business consent agenda items 12 through 22 be accepted.
Is there a second?
Second.
And that's resolutions 2014-33, 2000 to 2014-43.
Correct.
Is there a second, right?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, is there anybody opposed? Okay, no, pass. Okay.
Can be if you want.
No, that's all right.
This is-
Is there a bill resolution?
No, we don't have one tonight.
Okay, because our CFO is attending a funeral for her mom. We took care of the appointments, and now we're at the introduction of the ordinance.
Okay. Your Honor, I move that ordinance number 2014-1 be introduced and taken up on first reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Katie, would you read the ordinance by title only?
Ordinance number 2014-1, an ordinance creating the Borough of Metuchen Accessibility Committee.
I motion that ordinance be passed on first reading, published according to law, and public hearing set down for.
February 3rd, 2014.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's a roll call vote.
Councilman Camerano.
Yes.
Councilman Grayzel.
Yes.
Councilwoman Insero.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rasmussen.
Yes.
Councilman Wallace.
Yes.
Council President Muldoon.
Yes.
Okay, so we will discuss and have a public hearing on that February 3rd. Going to open it to the public for any questions or comments regarding any issue. You just come forth to the mic and state your name and address again, please.
Rose DeFries, 312 Middlesex. What's the Accessibility Committee?
It's a committee of, so that we could look at areas that would make the town a little bit better for handicapped people,
Okay,
okay?
yeah.
It will have some handicapped people on it, but not necessarily all. I know that we are encouraging a former councilwoman, Sherry Rose Rubin, to be one of the chair people or involved in the committee, and we have some other people that have already expressed interest in being on the committee. We don't have the committee filled, but it's a thing that they could work with our accessibility officer, which is Bill, and make recommendations to the council,
Okay, thank you.
okay?
If you'd like a copy of the resolution, we could give that to you. I mean, sorry, the ordinance. If you call it a resolution, sorry.
Anyone else in the public? Hearing none, I'm going to close that section of the meeting.
I move for adjournment.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.